Please, all of you, join me in welcoming Dion and Jordan and Jalen and Ronan to the Baylor University family, right? And please join me in welcoming our new head coach, Dave Aranda.
What was it about this Baylor situation that really intrigued you and made you accept the ability to win a national championship?
Good morning. Thank you guys for being here this morning. I apologize for doing this on a holiday. Really wanted to have somewhere my family could be here. I'm so blessed that I could be standing here as Baylor University head football coach and my family sitting down with me. Also wanted to do it today so we can get on the road and hit out and recruit. You know, when this job became available, I thought about family right away. My oldest daughter, Jalen, I've seen her interact with her friends, and I've seen her interact with us as a family, and she's got such a great heart. And I've always been impressed with her, and you're always worried about as a father with teenage girls, mean girls and that. And she's handled that with such grace, and I give my wife Dion got such a hand in that. Jalen had Baylor as a school to look at, as a school that was a favorite of hers, where she wanted to go to school. And I remember that was when I first started to look at Baylor. I know that I had been in this league before, and we played Baylor, and I knew some of the coaches that have been through Baylor. I started to look at Baylor, and I could see the Christian mission. I could see small classes. Education was important. I could see that, great facilities, great community. People cared. People valued Baylor University and the sports programs. I could see that they were winning at a big stage, at a high level, and they were doing it the right way. You could see that starting with Jalen. When we were prepping for our semifinal game, we had watched a lot of Baylor, 2 games worth versus Oklahoma. And I remember watching the TV copies. And in the TV copies, I could see the togetherness of the team. I could see the toughness of the team. I could see in between the white lines, the energy and the focus and the effort, but I could see on the sidelines when we were up and when we were down, I could see the leadership. I could see guys bringing each other up. Man, you saw love, and you saw togetherness. You saw a team. So anyways, when this job came open, I said, this is in my heart. This is me. I feel like this is God talking to me. And when I had the opportunity to talk to Mac, I was so excited. It just felt right. I'm happy to be in front of you guys this morning. I want to thank my family. I have a beautiful wife. We've been going since sophomore year of high school. So I was the linebacker, and she was the cheerleader. Those of you that meet her, she's still 100% cheerleader. I would not be here, Dion, without you and what you give to our family. The ultimate coach's wife, the effort and the energy you put into our family, babe, I love you. I'm so proud of my 3 kids. I think everyone that meets them, they come and they talk about how great hearts they have and how they're able to look them in the eye and talk to them. And my boy Ronan, you got complete sentences now, so it's all It's all looking up. Right when I was able to make contact with the search, I was able to communicate and start relationships with the people at Baylor. Very impressed with Mac Rhodes from the start. You could feel his vision. You could feel his energy. You could feel his passion. And I remember getting off the phone and talking to Dion afterwards and go, babe, I felt like there was a connection there. I felt like that's a fit. I remember thinking about Jalen and her and I's talks, and it just got me really excited. When I was able to meet the search team, we were able to talk quite a bit when they were eating all of our gumbo and stuff, and such great people, and it felt right. I could sense that their hearts were wide open, and I could felt that they wanted somebody that was like them. When I've had the opportunity to meet with President Livingstone, what strikes me is the warmth and the intelligence. Her family is outstanding, was able to have lunch yesterday, and the thing I didn't know was the competitiveness. It strikes you right away. You can sense that. That's right there. At the most basic level, I feel like this is home for us. The people that we meet when we walk through the hallway, the players when I sit down and I meet with you guys one-on-one, I can sense you're one of team. You're one of a unity. I want to be a part of that. I'm excited to start recruiting. I'm excited to get our staff together. That's a process that we're just starting. I'm excited to be able to meet you all. When Baylor comes to my mind, I think of Grant Taft. I think of great coaches that have come before me. I had the opportunity to speak to Grant Taft, and I told him a story of when I was a student assistant at the football coaches convention, and I would get up in the morning and I made sure I listened to his speech. And I remember I was in the hallway a day or two afterwards, and I was talking to a friend, and Grant Taft came walking by, and I stopped and got off to the side and go, geez, that's Grant Taft. And so to be in this position, to be at the school that he was at, that he had success for, and that he is a symbol of the values that are here, it's just so cool. I had the opportunity to talk to Matt Rule the other day. And Matt was someone I had told the search team that while I was at LSU, I wanted to come and visit Baylor, because I loved what they were doing on defense. And I loved, I would find myself pulling up YouTube videos of Matt Rule speaking, talking to the team, his motivational talks, and was just so impressed. And that here's a guy that's doing it the right way. Here's a guy that I would aspire to be. And so when I had the chance to talk to him, it was really fulfilling for me, and you could tell right away, such a great person. He has built such a great foundation here. I'm excited about taking the next step in that foundation and furthering the progress that he's made. Let me see here. When we had our talks with the search committee, the number one question was, why Baylor? That was an easy answer for me. I've always wanted to be a part of a program that was smart, tough, and dependable. And in my study of Baylor, that's everyone that's sitting and standing here. And to be around people that believe in those same values, that are built in those values, you can go anywhere you want to go. With those intangibles, at the most basic level, you could see that Baylor shared the same values as myself. To have the opportunity to coach with your Christian faith out front was a big pull. Unfortunately, in most schools, that's not looked upon as something to be. At Baylor, I can coach being myself. And I can coach from the heart versus alongside kids that have their hearts wide open. I'm excited about connecting with coaches throughout the state that believe in the things that I believe, and building a family of coaches that can coach from the heart and coach the right way. I feel like as a player, I've never met a player that would want to go out and make mistakes. They would want to go out and purposely not do the right thing. I think players want to do well and want to succeed. And so I think when they know that you care about them and that you've got their back and that you've done everything you can to prepare them, when there is failure, you look at it as a learning opportunity, and you know that God's got a great plan for you, and the next time will be better. That'll be our values here. Excited to be back in Texas. You know, when Dion and I were in Texas a couple years ago, we loved it, and we loved the high schools, the education that's available. It's great to be able to make connection with the Texas High School Football Coaches Association, have such admiration and such respect for the coaching that goes on in this state and the teaching that goes on in this state. You know, to be able to set foot in Waco and grow roots and have our girls enjoy high school and have Ronan come up through the ranks is something that me and my family look forward to very much. I think if we can have half the success that Chip and Joanna has had in Waco, we'll be all right. I wanted to close with some thank yous. You know, when I think back of my journey coaching, I think of the players that I coached. I think of coaching in Division III, and I'm a sophomore in college, and I'm holding a position meet in our English building. And I'm coaching a senior, a kid that's older than me, and I'm talking about block protection, footwork, and stance and that. And, you know, he's listening to me. And he's all in, and he wants to get better. And the relationship I have with that year's group, I still have today. I think of Texas Tech being a grad assistant and being on defense and being responsible for the scout team offense, and all of my relationships with kids that were walking on and just wanted to be coached and just wanted to have someone know their name, you know, and someone pay attention to them, someone ask them how they're doing, right? Someone ask them, how did school go, right? When's your next test? Is there anything I can do to help you? Sonny Cumbie was our scout team quarterback. I've got a great friendship with Sonny to this day. I think of the University of Hawaii when I was there, and just the kids that we had from good parts of town, bad parts of town, right? Kids from Hawaii, kids from all across the country coming together and being a team, having the opportunity to win the WAC championship. Those relationships I still have. Those guys I still talk to. Corey Paredes was a linebacker for us, was an all-WAC guy. I remember Colin Kaepernick running around trying to score a touchdown. It was Nevada at Hawaii, and Corey fended off 2 blocks, ran 20 yards, got the ball out, fumble at the 1. Hawaii wins the game. Corey and I still talk about that all the time. I remember Devin White. Devin at LSU was a Buckus Award winner. Devin would be at the office on Sunday prior to me showing up, wanted to watch film. He'd already watched it. And he would say, "Coach, what do you think here? Why'd you call this here? What could I do better there?" Devin wanted all the coaching and more. Fill me up. And I was inspired to give him everything I had. I think of players first. This is a player's game. Players play this game. Players win games. I want to thank my coaches, my head football coaches all throughout, especially Coach Ogeron. I've got such great respect and love for Coach O. When I called Coach O and told him that I was taking the Baylor job, he was so happy for me. I told him that I'd learned more from him than any other coach I've been around. His story of hardships, learning from those hardships, applying lessons learned, having success, and then sharing it with a group of men. There isn't a better story than that. And I'm so blessed to be a part of that. And I thank Coach O for that. I'm thankful for my athletic directors that I've been associated with, whether it's Barry Alvarez or Joe Oliva or Scott Woodard. Their leadership skills and how they treated their teams is something I'm always going to remember. You know, all of these men, right, have their traits and their values, in part, have made me what I am today. Guys, I'm so excited to be the head coach at Baylor. I'm excited to be working for y'all, right? This is just the start. Sick 'em Bears. Thank you, guys. We're going to open up for questions.
We've got microphones. There's 3 mics around the
Okay.
room. If you could identify yourself and your affiliation with a question.
Hi, Dave. Sam Khan, ESPN. Just curious if you had a chance to meet with the team yet, and if so, what's your message to them?
I did. I thought it was, you know, when I was standing in front of them, you could tell how close of a team they were. You could see the togetherness and the cohesiveness that was evident in that game film or that TV copy film we were looking at. And so I told them that I wanted to earn their trust and I want to be a part of them.
Hey, Coach. Matt
Hey.
Roberts, Fox 44. Welcome to Waco. You talked about a little bit your connections and your time spent in this state. How much does that help, not only in recruiting, but as you do try to assemble your staff?
No, it does. I think right when I think of Texas, I think of the Texas High School Football Coaches Association. I think of the strength that lies in a high school student athlete coming out of Texas and their development and their knowledge, right? The hard work that goes into going through 4 years of high school and graduating, winning championships. And so I think that's a big piece. I think the knowledge I have of the coaches throughout the state is good. We're going to get it, so it's great. I've spoken at a bunch of clinics. I think I'm speaking at the Lone Star Clinic here coming up. And so our goal is to get around the state and talk to them about Baylor football.
Right over here. Kelly.
Chuck Carlton, Dallas Morning News. Dave, as a coordinator, what do you see as maybe the biggest hurdle or the most difficult thing, the biggest challenge in becoming a head coach? And also from that standpoint, do you still plan on calling the defensive signals?
I think whenever you're making a move from, let's say, a position coach to a coordinator, or you're making a move from a coordinator to a head coach, you, in anticipation of that move, prepare and prepare and prepare. And I think there's things that you do outside of being in the office and being amongst your team to prepare. You can go study with other people. You can read a book on it. You can call other people to get their input on it. You can be alert in meetings, because one of the greatest education you have is right in front of you. I think if you pay attention to the details of what happens in the day-to-day and think in bigger terms of where you're at, whether it's position coach to coordinator or coordinator to head coach, I think those are things you can do to prepare. And in saying that, I do believe that with all the preparation that you can go into it, there's going to be something that will happen where you're not prepared and you haven't thought of it. And so I think when it gets to that point, you open up, communicate with the people around you, right, and the people that you value, and lean on them to come to a cohesive thought to get through it. I've always been one where it's, what is, in this instance, what is best for Baylor? And it's not it wouldn't be what is my idea or what's his idea or what's your idea, what's the best. So I think in that context, I think the working relationship with Mac and our staff is vitally important.
Hey, Dave, Suzanne Halliburton, Austin American Statesman. First, I'm glad y'all are making gumbo because I love that stuff. And second, I've read a lot that you like to dictate on defense, that you like to dictate to an offense. I'm curious, you've been around a lot of coaches, offensive coaches with all sorts of various styles. So what will your offense be like here at Baylor?
I'd like for the offense to be the things, or to have the element of putting pressure on the defense at all times. So we can do that by formation. We can do that by personnel groups. We can do that by tempo. We want the defense to have to defend every blade of grass. We want to be on the attack. And so I believe with college football nowadays, and this is going to be probably a defensive, this is a defensive guy talking, but I think the rules in college football allow for advantages on offense in terms of when the ball can be snapped and you're going to the line of scrimmage with a play based upon the look you're playing it, based upon the look you're changing it, the tempo piece, the ability to run with a quarterback and outnumber the defense. These are all things that we would like to maximize on. The second thing I would say would be you'd like for your offense to feature your best players. And so to identify what our guys do best and then put our guys in the best position to succeed. And then off of those strong tendencies, have curveballs and changeups where it looks the same and it plays out different. I think you have those things and you're on your way.
Stephen Hawkins with the AP. Coach, you've got a direct connection to 3 other Big 12 coaches at different stages, having been a roommate with Tom Herman, having worked for Les Miles, and I think you and Matt Wells were at Utah State at the same time. Talk about your relationship with them, and have you reached out to any of them and talked to them about where you're at and what you're doing? And the second part question I've got is just, you mentioned Coach O and your head coaches you've been around. Talk about what you take out of those coaches.
Okay. I remember Tom on my recruiting trip. I was telling this story of Tom was my host, and I remember just like in our conversation, I just never really had the chance to say too much. You know, it's just. Tom and I have got a great relationship. I really like Tom, and I want him to have success outside of when we play him. And Tom and I used to talk a lot, more on just the football part. He would always be my main go-to guy on what is up and coming with offenses. These are the latest trends. This is where kind of the game is going. And I used to love those talks. And here recently, you know, we can't have those talks anymore. But I value Tom's friendship. Matt, when we were together at Utah State, Matt and his family are just salt of the earth, great people. Our family had a real connection with Matt and his family, and I'm so happy for him. I think, you know, Matt and I have talked throughout just about things like culture, team chemistry, ways to run a program, ways to run a practice. I think Matt is a big thinker, and you know, Matt's going to have success there at Tech. I'm proud of him. And then Coach Miles, I love. And so, you know, I don't know if there's a coach out there that has a bigger heart than Les. And I'm very appreciative for Les for bringing my family and I to LSU. He took a chance on me. And I'll always remember our talks during the season when times were tough and kind of the walls were kind of closing in. Les always had a bright, sunny bright, sunny personality about him. He never let, you know, the cold rain come in, so to speak. And I'm always grateful for him for that. Those were some tough times. I think it was with 16. And then Coach O, you know, Coach O was so wide open, is what I appreciated about him. Is that, and I imagine y'all see it too. And I appreciate that about him. That, you know, when we talk about all these coaches, and I know for a time, I would reflect just on you know, how I'm built, and go, you know, is a head coach something that you want to do? And I would see these other coaches that are just, you know, they're built differently than I am. And whether it's Mike Leach or Gary Anderson or Paul Chris or Les Miles or Coach Orgeron, you know, when you can be yourself and feel confident in who you are and love on your players and build connections, those connections will get through and be strong. And so you saw that with Coach O, and the way that he empowered our staff and empowered that community there in Baton Rouge. Some of those bus rides for that championship game were crazy, and I give Coach O a lot of the credit for that. It was all him.
A couple more.
Okay.
Dave, Kirk Bowles from the Austin American. Did you take the job before you knew 9 defensive starters are gone? And the other thing is that you're being a defensive coach in an offensive league. Advantage or disadvantage for you?
I knew of the defensive departures. I look at the student athletes that have played and the playing time that they had last year and the experience that is coming back, I think is something to build upon. I think, there's good recruiting classes that are in the wings that are ready to make their mark. I think defense will be a strength this year. And then the second part of your question was, I'm sorry. Yes, the offense, yeah. I think some of that is changing, I feel. I think with some of the, I think that's still true, and I believe that to be true. But I think there is an advent of defenses here, whether it was Baylor or I thought in watching film from last year, I thought Kansas State did a lot of good things on defense, and I feel and Iowa State's done good things on defense. I think that defense in this league is making a comeback, and I'd like to be at the forefront of that.
David Smoke, ESPN Central Texas. Dave, the recruiting timeline with National Signing Day upon us.
Yes.
How quickly or how important is that with you establishing your staff?
It is. I think, along with that, I think that we want to be able to make sure on both ends of it that we get the right people. And so, you'd like to have everybody in place and everybody committed and in a certain time, but more important than that, I believe, is making sure that the right people are here, whether it's commitments to us or whether it's staff being in place. And so I think the discussions that we've had on both sides of it, the staff coming together and the recruiting part, have been very good. And I feel good about the pace of where it's going because we're going to identify and get the right people. All right, thank you. Appreciate you guys.